I always tell to people, you don't wait to get diabetic.
Right.
You don't wait to get an illness to hit the gym.
Right.
You hit the gym anyway,
Right.
to train your body. How to marry your target audience with where they are hanging out. A lot of times, entrepreneurs or just generally, teams don't know. So let's say, I ask you that where is your target, who is your target audience and where they're hanging out. You will tell me that, look, my target audience are fresh psychologists. We are women entrepreneurs. We grew up in spaces where we are not taught, or let's say not taught, or where we know that, oh, money, finances,
these are not our areas.
These are not our areas. But I always feel that you truly become an entrepreneur when you get to learn.
Hi everyone, welcome once again to another episode of the PsyK-Talk. I'm your host Kirti Garg, a practicing psychologist and also the founder of the PsyK Life. Today's episode is very special because we indeed have a very special guest with us, Miss Kanika Agarwal. I'm sure you all probably already know her from Shark Tank Season 2. She is the founder of Mind Peers and also a young entrepreneur. I'm very excited to be having this conversation with her today, where we'll try exploring about mental health trends, artificial intelligence, entrepreneurship, her experience as a young entrepreneur, and so much more. Welcome, Kanika. I'm very glad.
Thank you, Kirti.
Very glad to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Love what you're building. So very excited to keep, talking about these things.
Yes, definitely. So let's start with your opinions and your, views around a podcast on mental health and psychology.
Very much needed. I'm glad the more we have, the better it is, because we know how stigmatized mental health is. So when young people like yourself and others, when they do such stuff, it's always very heartwarming. But I think the essence still lies that when people listen to it, we would always want them to take some action about it, right? So, but always very good to see such good things that are coming in, all related to mental health.
Kanika, I'd like you to share a little bit about Mind Peers, the organization, the business that you're building.
Sure. So, Kirti, Mind Peers was started about 3.5 years ago. It started because I went through a lot of severe panic attacks, anxiety. It was to an extent that I had to be hospitalized. I became an entrepreneur at the age of 24. And this was all in Singapore because that's where, I was putting up. And when I became a first-time entrepreneur, there are so many things that you learn that, you don't know how to say no, you operate out of fear. And while my first business did superbly well, I personally went through all of this, right? So once that business got acquired, I took an exit and I said, look, this is something that I've personally gone through. And hence Mind Peers came about. Now, what we do in Mind Peers is, it started with a very small dream to say that, and again, it was from a very personal experience, because when I went to sought help, it literally took me about 7 to 8 psychologists to get the right one, right? And what I started realizing was that when you go for that search, how do you decide that, hey, who is best for me, right? And more than that, like, I didn't know that my problems were supposed to be labeled as anxiety or panic attack. So how do you decide that, hey, who is going to help me?
Exactly.
Right? So I realized that it's a very massive problem. How do we find the right qualitative therapist in probably 1 or 2 go? Because if you go through something like me, where you're taking 7 to 8 new therapists,
right,
you have to go through your whole journey, narration again and again.
I relate to this because I have lots of clients coming to me saying ki pehle wala didn't work out, and I'm skeptical of repeating the same story again.
Correct, right? So then that, which means that you would do a very discreet job of making sure that, hey, am I aligned? Like, are my specialties, the skill set aligned with what my client is looking for? So we started with this very small notion that how do we provide qualitative and how do we provide the right therapist to our audience, to whoever needs help. While it started with that, we also started to realize that a therapist is not available to you 24/7. Now, again, the perception that I want to give to people here and that we're living by is, I personally don't feel that a therapist can ever be replaced.
Right.
Okay, not at least in the 10 to 15 years,
Right.
whatever or however may AI go on. But then what we have done at Mindpeers is that there is a set of qualitative therapists that we provide to you. And then besides that, our vision now has been to enable you to measure your mental health, right? So what does measurement of mental health means? That because of the series of experiences that you're going through every day in your life, where am I standing scientifically in my mental health journey? So which means that, can I tell you that if your mood swings is happening, if you, let's say you've been in a low mood, if you have all these physical conditions, for example, maybe diabetics, or you're not exercising, or you're going through xyz in your relationships, careers, etc., we guys as of today are able to tell people actual measurements of, hey, that this is where your anxiety levels are or could be. We tell them about, let's say, how we call ruminations in the clinical term, how much you're overthinking. We tell them about the measurement of their executive functioning. So we guys are going more towards the neuroscientific principles of being able to tell you that, hey, what is happening inside, so that someone can measure their mental health, just like how you measure your physical.
So are you somewhere doing a mental health screening?
We do mental health screening also. So we are house of diagnostic tests. Every week we are bringing in self-assessment led diagnostic tests, which is, and the idea over here is not to tell you that, hey, you are going through anxiety. The idea of here is to tell you that
warning signs,
right? That where exactly are you leading towards because of all the other lifestyle parameters that you have, right? So things like, when it comes to relationships, we have things like couple satisfaction tests and all of that.
And how are all of these developed?
So we have an in-house clinical psychologist and behavioral researchers, but mainly led by 4 key people. All of them are clinical psychologists. Some of them have done their studies from NHS London. Some of them have done it from Canada. They all came back, and now we have an in-house team.
So you're proper professionals doing it.
Absolutely.
Right? Making sure of the ethics and
absolutely everything. RCI licensing and all of those things. So in compliance is something which is very dear to me. So we basically make sure of all of that.
Kanika, why did you choose to start a business, or more of a entrepreneur sort of setup as compared to a job or a service? Why business? Like, especially for you personally.
Yeah, see, look, I feel everyone has their personal, like there is this something in your soul, in your heart, that calls for it, that, look, I want to build my own thing. See, Katie, for me, to be very honest, I was in a very comfortable job. I had started my professional life in Singapore because I had shifted there. I've lived there for 15 years. And I started my career with Google, and then I was with Microsoft. And trust me, it was the most amazing professional years that I've had. But what I felt somewhere was that firstly, I felt that I could do so much more. When I was in these companies, I always wanted to be this jack of all trades, and I wanted to do this also, I want to do that also. And then I slowly started realizing that, when I die, right, what are the things that I would just generally want people or myself when I'm, like, let's say if I'm superbly ill, what are the things I would want to look back on?
Reflect back on the work I've done.
Absolutely. Like how they said that if you were on your deathbed, would you carry any regrets with you and stuff like that? And for me, I started realizing that I just love to build things. Because even when I was in university, I was doing a lot of part-time jobs. I was doing a lot of, co-curriculars. I was organizing events all over Singapore. So I started realizing that, I love to build things. And literally, I know, Kriti, like today I meet so many young entrepreneurial aspirants. They always ask me that, I'm feeling so fearful that I'm leaving my job. I will not earn. Too much thinking now has started to go in because startups have become a trend. Us time pe about 10, it's been I think 14 years now. At that time, thankfully, I was not overthinking a lot, I just jumped into it. And when I got into it, I started to realize that this whole thing of doing something for myself, of knowing that, if I will do well. If I do okay also, there is something that I'm learning every day. You wake up to challenges. And that became my dopamine for me.
Right.
Right? So that's how entrepreneurship happened. And like I told you, while you guys or anyone can do very successfully in their business, only we entrepreneurs know what is going at the back end. Right? So it's a way of life that you choose for yourself. So for me, it just happened that I loved to build stuff. I loved the challenges, and somewhere I just felt that, look, this is the purpose that I want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I relate to what you're saying because as an entrepreneur myself, I think it's the passion which is even stronger when you do it.
Yeah.
Like you said, jack of all, and
Yeah.
you have that thing to build. You have that
Absolutely.
space. You
Yeah.
can have all of those creativities. You can try putting across a lot of things when you are creating a space like this.
Absolutely.
Kanika, how has Shark Tank contributed to this organization of yours?
So, see, a lot. I would probably distribute into just 3 quick pointers for you, right? The first one was that we were the first mental health company who had aired on national TV, via Shark Tank. And when that happened, when that airing happened, you won't believe, I think in just 2 minutes, we had some 2.7 crore people who were on our app. And and it started to make us realize the sheer potential of mental health. So it was very heartwarming. And since then, I think for about 2 months, so many people in lakhs every day reached out to us talking about that, hey, we go through this, I go through this, can you please tell me how you can help us? So that's the first thing I would say. Second thing is that, look, you go to a place like this to raise money, right? We were already doing a round. This was, I think, a second round, and so these sharks came in. And the third, I would say, is the most beautiful thing that has happened, which is all our 4 sharks, Namita, Aman, Piyush, Vinita, very genuinely amazing founders who have now turned into friends. And I can literally just, like I text Namita at like probably I'm waking up in the morning. I'm like, Namita, I have this issue. What do you think? How should I go about it? And she would just reply instantly saying, you should try doing this, or come meet me, let me support you on this. So the sheer support that you get from people who have already built, right, or who are in their building journey. So for example, Piyush, now we guys at Mind Peers are also expanding globally because of our neuroscience and all of that. And Piyush always says that, look, I'm in Singapore, let's meet and let's do things and all of that. So very, very supportive, right? Sometimes we as entrepreneurs should know how to get that mentorship out of your investors. And that's what these 4 people have been to me.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I also feel like you mentioned in the first point somewhere, mental health got the space it required. It got the platform where it became more open. And like you said, so many people reached out to you within 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So that space was also provided somewhere.
Yeah.
Kanika, how did you reach to Shark Tank? Like we want to know the backstory of all of it.
So, Kirti, see, I'll tell you something, right? I personally believe, and I think you would also know this, because you're an entrepreneur, that you, as entrepreneurs, we have to make opportunities for ourselves. Okay, I know so many people who always knew the way to apply for Shark Tank. Look, it's not difficult. Okay, people say ki it's not, like, it's very difficult to get. No, it's not difficult. It's a tedious process because obviously they get crores of applications, and then they have to narrow it down to like just 35 episodes come, or 40, I don't know how many in total come, but they have to narrow it down, right? So see, the process is long, but it's not that difficult if you know, like you said, if you have that passion, if you know what you're building, if you know how it can impact. So the process was that you have a written application. The applications usually open around March or April every year, as soon as the season shooting ends, the season screening ends, right? So they open the applications. It's a written application. Then if you get shortlisted for that, then there is a video application. If you get shortlisted for that, then you go down for auditions. They have citywide, everywhere in India they have these auditions. Then if you get shortlisted in the auditions, I think there is one more round, and then after that they tell you whether you're going to come to Bombay or not. You're like, oh, I'm coming to Bombay, sort of a thing. You go down, then and then of course you have a 3-day process with them where you're at the set. They prepare you, you talk about your business, how do you want to pitch to the sharks, you get to see a preview of how the shark tank, the actual tank will look like, and then the actual thing happens. Now what viewers see is what, 15-20 minutes of an episode,
Right.
but the whole conversation is actually a 1.5 hour, 1 to 1.5 hour
Acha.
at least, right? Because they're going through all the details, you're telling them so much about yourself, your business, the numbers and everything, the future plans, the roadmap and all of that. So that happens, and even after that, I think Sony TV and Shark Tank India, they have a process where they then filter that, okay, these are the ones that we want to
Air.
So that's how the process happens.
How do you, being somebody so young, how do you decide on the future map? How do you decide on these big numbers? How do you decide to, make that perfect pitch? From where does all of that confidence or all of that come in?
I should be asking you that, Keith, I think you're younger than me. But look, again, I'll distribute this into points, okay? See, the first thing is, you being an entrepreneur is something that does not come to you by birth. Innately nahi aata hai, okay? You
Other than the fact that we are banyas.
You may be true, absolutely, but you learn it on the job, right? You learn it on the go. That's the first thing. So you have to be very open to learning, right? Like they say, entrepreneurs have to dirty their hands in everything. Second, Kirti, this is where I take a bit of my feminine side will come out, right? We are women entrepreneurs. We grow up in spaces where we are not taught, or let's say not taught, or where we know that, oh, money, finances,
These are not our areas.
These are not our areas. But I always feel that you truly become an entrepreneur when you get to learn, when you know what your numbers are. So, when in my first business, it was a bootstrapped business. I had not raised money, right? But we still became multi-million. It was tad bit easier to manage finances, to understand growth. What simple tha ki, oh, if I get a client, I need to have profit margins, and that's how the business goes, right? The costs are the salaries and all of that. In my peers, it's much more complicated because it's a product business. I need to raise money. You are scaling it exponentially and all of those things. So learning your investment terms, understanding things like, oh, what is CAC? What is
I remember the sharks asking all of this during.
Absolutely, right? Now, these are some things. So even before the Shark Tank happened, we had already raised one round. And even before that, when I started my peers, these were the numbers that I had to, learn. I needed to understand. And, you don't learn these numbers, just because I have to raise with investors. You learn it because these are everyday stuff that you need to know about your business, right? So what I'm trying to tell you here is, you learn on the job. You ask me like, okay, how do you know these big numbers? How do you plan for it? You learn it on the job. Second is, you really, if you think that, oh, I don't need to know numbers, I can just hire someone. No. If you're the founder, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to know about it. Third thing is, which you would also agree, listen to your target audience. Once you've defined your target audience, listen to what the market wants. But also sometimes it happens that the market does not know what it wants, right? So that's where you research. That's where you need to be very
and open. You create the awareness also.
Absolutely.
So maybe if we talk about mental health, people know and at the same time don't know that they're going through challenges.
Yes.
So you create the awareness, and that's how.
Absolutely. I can give a recommendation here. So, aspiring entrepreneurs who might be watching this, I would ask them to read this book called Play Bigger. Okay. What they say in that is, I'll just give you a very quick example. We as consumers in the US also, they never knew that they wanted Uber. Life was going on now without Uber also. People were still booking taxis and all of that. But what Uber made them realize was that, look, this can happen with convenience.
Right.
Now you don't have to wait 5 hours. You don't have to book a cab a day before. You can just get a cab in 2 minutes. So they educated the consumers that, look, what you're doing can be done more conveniently, right? So they came in as a business to create that demand. Correct? So a lot of entrepreneurs, and even us in mental health, what are we trying to tell people every day? That you don't have to go through mental illnesses to go to therapy.
Exactly.
Right? I still see my therapist. I'm not going through my panic attacks anymore, but my thinking patterns and all of those
perspective in life
absolutely
overall,
right? So that's the awareness that you create as an entrepreneur, and then from there you navigate into building your business.
Amazing. how much importance has funding played, especially in MindPeer's growth or just your growth as an entrepreneur?
See, both a lot. Like I told you, first I'll tell you about in my growth, right? I was, before MindPeers, my first business that I was running was bootstrapped. So we did not raise funding. That was a different ball game altogether because it was a services-led business. MindPeers is a product-led business. So for my personal growth, like I told you, I learned a lot, right? I had to learn investor pitching. I had to learn my numbers. I had to learn the terms. I had to learn, when investors say, oh, I think you guys are too soon for us, or we're not ready for you, or
You
oh,
need
we
an
will
answer.
pass the deal. You try to understand, oh, what does it exactly mean? What am I lacking, or what is it that they are lacking? So there's a lot of stuff that you learn personally as an entrepreneur, and I've had the time of my life learning all these things because curiosity is something which gets me going. Now, as a business, Kirti, see, I always tell this, right? MindPeers could have grown without investor money also, right? It always depends that what is the roadmap or what is the journey that you're seeing for your business, right? I can put in a bit of my money. I can make it a business where I don't make losses. I always make sure that whatever I'm doing, I'm making profit. And then the business growth in those cases goes like this. Like you're growing like this. Dheere. But let's say when you have investors, what do you do with that? You get the investor money, but you're getting the investor money to scale at a shorter period of time, but you are scaling very fast. Right? You're able to use that money for your GTM, which we call go to market, right? And all of those things. So in a short span of time, you have more resources to expand your business, right? So what I've learned.
And is it always profit? Because I doubt that.
No.
In that short period.
No. So most of the times when you're raising investor money, you're not profitable, right? Because you're burning more. You're burning more money to create awareness about your business, right? Most of the brands I will not name, but most of the big businesses that we know of today, none of them are profitable.
Right.
None of them are net profitable. They're gross profitable, but none of them are net profitable because they're still burning money. And that's why if you would have observed, or if the viewers would have observed, that in the last 1.5 years, now suddenly entrepreneurs have started focusing on making their business net profitable. Why? Because the fundings have gone down. Right? Because of the market this thing.
So what is better?
There is no single answer to this.
Depends on the roadmap.
But if you individually today ask me, the way when I mentor people in entrepreneurship, I always tell them build a business model which is net profitable from day one.
Okay.
Right? When you are net profitable, you can still raise funds. There's nothing stopping you. But I think it's a bubble and it's going to burst very badly, where people were earlier practicing कि अच्छा investor money raise कर लो, फिर उसको जलाओ अच्छे से, like let's burn it and उसके बाद growth आता रहेगा. See, what I'm trying to, in simpler terms, what I'm trying to tell you is, I raised money. Okay, now I'm running ads which are worth lakhs every month. Okay, and I'm like, oh, look, growth is coming. But then you don't realize that growth is coming because you're burning a lot of money in ads. What you want is that once you acquire a customer, how do you build a sustainable pipeline where your customers are coming organically?
Whether the ads are there or not, they're still coming to you.
Exactly, they're still coming to you. So if you're asking me that, Kanika, in your opinion, what is that ideal way, even though there is no one ideal way and there is no defined process for anyone, if I had to start all over again, I would say to make your business net profitable from day one, to build your product so exceptionally well. I'm not saying build it perfect from day one, but so exceptionally well that it does the job for you. See, if you come across a good product or service, you will stay to it no matter what.
Right.
So that would be.
So where is MindPeers right now?
Look, so we are becoming net profitable.
Okay.
And I'm in a state where I don't want to say that I don't want to raise funds further. We do, but I want to also make it net profitable. So we're literally, on that path now. Where we are super sustainable. Our therapy business is actually organically growing for us. Our CACs, the cost of customer acquisition, is zero for us at that point of at right now, just because our therapies get network effect. So if someone has taken therapy from us, they will go and tell their friend that, oh, I love MindPeers, I want you to do that too. So we are currently working towards net profitability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kanika, if I think of two trends right now in today's world, one would definitely be AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And I don't know how how well I can put it, that mental health is not trendy, but people have started understanding the importance of it, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I talk of mind peers, it's working on both of these trending terms, AI and mental health. What do you have to say about that?
See, again, we are working on it because, of course, that's something that we are understanding in the market, right? But like I told you, see, maybe I'll take a step back. What I know as an individual for sure is, Kirti, it has taken so many years for physical health to get its due space in the market, right? Even today, जब लोगों को resolutions बना रहे हैं अभी, right? उनका पहला resolution होता है यार I'll hit the gym every day, but होता नहीं है, right? So people are still convincing themselves and getting the discipline or understanding that hey, why do I have to go to the gym every day, right? So I feel one trend that you said that hey, mental health is starting to get its space. I always tell to people, you don't wait to get diabetic.
Right.
You don't wait to get an illness to hit the gym.
Right.
You hit the gym anyway, no?
Right.
To train your body. Just that way, Mindpeers is focusing, and this is a collective thought of all our team members who feel that you have to train your mind. Irrespective of anything, every day or often, you need to make it a practice. So that's how Mindpeers sees that trend.
Just adding in for the mental health part, I also say something similar, that mental health is not something that only a mentally ill person has to take care of. Just like we have a body that all of us need to take care of, mind is also something that all of us need to take care of.
Absolutely.
So that we don't go to a verge of probably getting diagnosed.
Right. Like I gave that example, right? I'm not going through my panic attacks anymore, but I still see my therapist, right? Just to discuss things like that. Oh, I wasn't able to say no to this person. What do you think? Why is that the reason? I cried just when this person said this thing to me. What do you think is happening to me? So you also go to therapist to be a better version of yourself every day, right? So that's one trend that we're definitely hanging on. That Mindpeers it's in our DNA. And like I told you, we don't believe that just for the sake of using AI, you can replace therapists with it, right? That's not in our DNA. AI cannot replace the warmth, the subjectivity, the understanding that a therapist brings to the table. When it comes to the AI part, what we are doing over there is that, like I said, we want to make the science part of mental health very much visible to people.
So assessments is probably something you're helping with?
Assessments and measurements. So I'll give you an example. Today, if you go to the Mindpeers app, and if you're wearing Fitbit, if you have an Apple Health app, if you have Google Fit app, if you have an Apple Watch, you can basically go and connect that, okay, with our app. So we have APIs, you can connect that. We tell you that just on the basis of the steps, your sleep quality, your exercising, your nutrition, what is the impact that is having on your mental health, right? I won't go into the details, it'll be too much, but you would know that our brains and our body are connected, right? 90% of our mental health is impacted because of what we are doing to our body, right? Let's talk about gut, brain, all of these have scientific connections. So we are going into the physiology and the mental health measurement aspect of it, right? So that's what you find. So that's where we guys are using the AI part of it to help out users.
So what do you have to say about platforms where therapists are available via chats, or they're available as an AI, replacement, but not as individuals?
I have no comments, right? But that is something that I would not personally use. So I would not take names here, but I just feel that we are still not in that era where your AIs have become so smart to replace your therapist, right? And maybe I think this is just personally that I want to add that, you know how we all know November, May, WHO said that loneliness is becoming
the biggest,
it's a threat now. It's a health threat. Your therapist, when I'm meeting a therapist or when I'm talking to them, a personal therapist, they're also teaching you the importance of human connection. Right? So to me, still far lot of time for an AI to replace the therapist. Yeah.
I think that helps. Now, Kanika, to look at an entrepreneur like you, I would really like to know the not so limelight of it? What are the challenges that people don't really talk about, but I'm sure you and I and many other entrepreneurs like us would have faced?
Got it. Kirti, I want to ask you, tell me one challenge that you face first.
For me, I think it would be to keep myself pushing and to keep going, because there are various sort of hurdles that come in, and it's not just monetary, it's not just keeping up with the to-do list, it's so much beyond all of that. And just on, every time I have this thought that, I don't want to do this anymore, or am I draining myself too much? To push myself during that point, I think that is the biggest challenge, because despite being a mental health professional myself, despite helping individuals around the same area, as a human being, this is something that I personally go through a lot. So just pushing myself and reminding myself on why I started all of this, what is the passion behind all of this. For me, that would be the biggest challenge.
So I also share that. Maybe I'll just add two, very everyday things that I go through. Okay, I think the first struggle would be a lot of balancing issues. Okay, I have met so many people who say that I want to become an entrepreneur because I will be able to work on my own terms. Okay, I will be able to holiday. I will be, they see entrepreneurship as glam. I want to say that it's totally the opposite, right? I absolutely appreciate the freedom that we entrepreneurs get to work from anywhere. Like I literally do. Every 2 weeks, every 1 week, I'm actually absolutely in a different city, and nothing changes for me. I enjoy that change. But like I said, the balancing part of it means I overthink a lot. Even while sleeping, you're like, oh, tomorrow, what do I have to do? Oh, my investors are upset. Oh, my this is upset. Oh, what's a new thing that I have to build?
Right.
How do we stay relevant? So much overthinking, right? So to me, that's a very, very big challenge. Okay. And the second, I would say, it's to do a lot with I won't go into the specificities of, like you said, and monetary, growing your business, scaling your business, wo to hota hi hai, right? That is like, I draw parallels to, like, if you're in a job, मैं promote कब होऊंगा, when will I get a salary hike and all of that. But I would say the second thing is, Kirti, the art of knowing how to say no to people. Okay,
that's tricky.
As an entrepreneur, you have a lot of people that you have to make happy every day. It becomes challenging, and we don't realize this, but innately we are sales people. हमें अच्छे employees चाहिए, right? We want to make a great team. So you're selling to people like whom you want to hire. You're selling to investors. Customers को तो आप sell कर ही रहे हो. Then you have to do all this branding stuff that we have to do. उसमें भी आपको sell करना है. So what the biggest challenge is, learning how to keep everyone happy. And then in that process, you learn that no, we can't keep everyone happy, and we have to learn to say no. And a lot of times, like I want to add to the glam part, right? People would think, oh, they're an entrepreneur, or she's a CEO or she's a founder. Kitna acha hoga na? But I want to tell people that we get disrespected almost every day, right? So I would say the challenge to maintain your boundaries, the challenge of learning how to say no, and the challenge of maintaining your respect, standing your ground, very important.
Any example on we getting disrespected every day?
Yeah, a lot of times. I mean, I have zillions of examples, and I can put it out very openly. A lot of my potential investors, right? Pehle, you're a woman entrepreneur. Second, or let's start. Pehle, you're an entrepreneur. Second, you're a woman entrepreneur. And the biggest problem is you're running a mental health company, which a lot of people still don't understand. So when you're going out there to raise funds, trust me, if I'm meeting 100 investors, 95 of them would have just either wasted my time. They would not come prepared in meetings. They would expect me to fly down for them, spend, just because they make it feel that, hey, they're doing me a favor, right? So getting that respect is very difficult. And you feel that, can I say no to this person just because, like, I want to raise funds, but can I give this investor the due space to just respect me?
Right.
And that's where you have to maintain your ground, you have to maintain your balance.
Right. Yeah. This brings me to the next segment that I've planned for you, which is around challenges that entrepreneurs usually face, and I'm sure you must have also faced. I'm sure the viewers here and the listeners would like to know, how do you deal with these challenges now? The challenges that I'm going to list one by one.
Okay.
So I will start by, deciding to automate everything, because Kanika cannot do everything now. And there are a lot of things that are automated also. So how do you automate everything in the process?
People. I am a people's person, and the teams that you build as an entrepreneur matters a lot. I am very fortunate, and I know I have worked hard for this. I have the best team possible today. From my founder's office, who also takes care of a brand, she's our brand head, to our salesperson, to our chief psychology officer, to my co-founder, to my clinical product person. All of them are the bestest people that I could have ever got. So which means that the stuff that I can't do, I know that these people will be taking care of it, and I don't have to be after their life. They're micro entrepreneurs in themselves. So that's how I automate my life. I also want to add, you need an ecosystem of people in your personal life also. My partner, my parents, my brother, biggest support pillars. If they know that, oh, I'm busy enough to do all of these things, someone would be making sure that I'm getting the right food, someone would be helping me with booking my flights. And I don't have an executive assistant. I like to be hands-on, but I always know that my partner would be just taking care of all of these things, because he knows that, okay, she is heads down building her business. That's you. People say you automate your stuff with tools. I'm a laggard. I still carry my pen and paper. Like I'm meeting you here. I was making my to-do list. I still have to do it on my pen and paper. I can't use Notion. Right? So my automation is done with being surrounded with the best people possible.
This brings me to the next one, which is, how do you build a good team? The challenge of building a good team.
Selling well. Knowing the vision that you have. People will only believe in your vision if you truly believe it in yourself. That's one. Second, empathy. Right? If, let's say today, I run businesses empathetically, but Kirti, you cannot carry your label of being a founder or a CEO everywhere with you, right? So when I'm talking to my team, we're all equal. We're all equal, right? You need to let them be vulnerable and all of those things. So good people stay when they're respected, right? The same thing that applies to us. So for me, the secret sauce to building a good team, two things. One, knowing what you're building, building a great vision so that people can believe in what you're building. And second, they stay if you're a good leader, which means empathy, vulnerability, treating them as equal, because they are equal. They're contributing as much as we are. So that's what it is.
The challenge of collaborating and networking with people, getting probably colleges on board, getting investors on board, getting organization, corporates on board. So how do you get people on board?
Everything is about selling, right? But nowadays, the noise that we live in and the options that people have for everything, storytelling is everything. If they can connect to your story, they will buy in with you. See, again, and I want to be very specific and realistic about it, Kriti. I'll take an example of selling to clients. Okay, I always start with storytelling to making them believe that this is not a technology business that you're dealing with. It's a human business that you're dealing with, right? And all businesses are human businesses,
right?
Even Zomato, even if you pick a lavish D2C brand today, every business is a human business, right? So storytelling is very important. Making someone believe in the quality of what you have built is very important. And number three, of course, this is a very specific thing that I'm saying, ROI. If I can today make you realize or understand that, hey, this is the ROI you are going to get because of working with me.
Can you elaborate ROI for the viewers?
Return on investment, right? So if, let's say today you are a client and I tell you that, hey, take MindPures because it's going to help your employees. Fine, the HR understood, okay. But how do I tell the HR that, let's say, if you take MindPures for your employees, your attrition rate, or let's say the productivity of your employees is going to increase 2 times, which basically means that the revenue that your company can make in a year can actually increase by, 2 million or 3 million. So then they start seeing the larger picture. They realize that, okay, if I invest 10 rupees with this company today, in the long term, I can actually make 10,000 rupees, right? So making the other person, the other party, always understand the ROI is also very important.
What is MindPure's story? you start with storytelling, right? So what is the story that you pitch?
Of making people a better version of themselves every day. That's the thing that we pitch to them, and then we go into the nitty-gritties of productivity issues, looking at the women, from a both twofold approach, that hey, when they come to office, they're also coming with personal problems,
Right.
and all of those things. Then we go into the human problems, but the top problem that we always tell them, the storytelling that we do, is that we are helping people be better versions of themselves.
Right. The challenge of reaching masses. So you're also planning to expand globally, and I'm sure even in India you're expanded well. So how do you reach masses, different regions of the country or globally for that matter?
So we call them distribution channels, right? GTM, go to market. Kirti, so we are very big on digital. But see, this is I would say, see, this is more, the question, this challenge that you've asked me is more of knowing how to marry your target audience with where they are hanging out. Okay, a lot of times entrepreneurs, or just generally teams, don't know. So let's say I ask you that where is your target, who is your target audience, and where they're hanging out. You will tell me that, look, my target audience are fresh psychologists, people who are just coming out of, let's say,
bachelor students, master students.
Exactly, right? Now you know that, okay, I know most of the segment is hanging out on Instagram. So I know that whatever content I want to put out, I want to put it on Instagram. You will not put it on Facebook, let's say, because you know that, oh, these people are not hanging out on Facebook anymore. So the simple answer to this will be, I'm assuming that every entrepreneur would know who their target audience is, knowing where they are hanging out, and marrying your distribution channels accordingly.
Okay. The challenge of taking care of your own mental health during this entire process.
Oh yeah, very difficult. Like I said, I still overthink a lot. I become anxious. I'm a very big advocate of women hormonal health. So I've realized that my menstrual cycle is a short one, but then my PMS is very what do you call it? It's literally very bad. 15 days of the month, I actually go through a lot of anxiousness, and I go through low confidence stuff. One thing, I would say two things which have stayed with me to maintain my sanity, to maintain my mental health, is reading books. I read books like anything. And they are my best friends. When I'm feeling lonely, down, I'll just pick up a book and I instantly feel the best. And the second would be, just when we're young now, when we have that passion and fire, we often start forgetting the value of relationships.
Right.
Okay. Now that I'm I'm maturing in that, and I'm loving the time that I deliberately take out to spend with my partner, with my dog, with my brother, with my mother and father, and I'm loving every bit of it. So these are the two ways mainly that I take care of my mental health.
How do you deal with challenges of creativity blocks? So, like you said, we have to keep coming up with new things.
Beautiful question. Beautiful
how do you
question.
deal with that?
Okay, very honestly, I try not to think. And the second thing I would do is I just have this thing to Google a lot. So if I'm creatively blocked, I usually inspire myself by looking at a lot of creative work. That helps me. One thing that it's also helped me, I don't know if, again, I feel it's very subjective, it works from people to people, but let's say if I'm working towards, let's say, a certain campaign, and we have to come out with like, a creative messaging for it, I will not be like, kyun nahi raha hai? I have to keep thinking. No, I would just let it off. I would just spend my day doing whatever, 2 days, and I would just look at videos, I would read articles, and then suddenly something would click. That's my way.
So just giving yourself the space, and it will come.
Space, not harping on it.
Right.
So that does not work for me.
Right. And the challenge of keeping up with the social media game. So since our audiences are majorly on social media platforms, being relevant there, taking care of the algorithms, ads, all of that.
I'm very bad at it. Even though I know the sauce of how to do it, I know the recipe of having a great social media presence, I truly do not get time for it, to be very honest, and I do feel bad. FOMO. I feel a lot of FOMO about it. So in all honesty, no, I'm still not keeping up with it. I don't post regularly. I know I should, I must, but I still don't, because I am not in that space. But I would say, jitna I do, I do by just every morning. I think of whatever content I want to put, the days that I am putting, and I would just go and post it out. So honestly, I'm not following it in a very disciplined manner. So I might not.
You're very spontaneous with it.
I'm very spontaneous, so I might not be the right person to ask, answer this question, because I'm really not in the headspace right now while building businesses, and I'm also an investor now. So I also put a lot of time in angel investing. So that also takes up a lot of my time.
Right.
So I'm really not in the headspace right now.
My last question, Kanika, would be, how does Kanika do it all? And what is going to be your message to all the young entrepreneurs looking at you and I'm sure getting inspired by you?
Kirti, I don't do it all. Okay, there was a time in my life when I was 25, 24, 25, 26, when I wanted to do it all. And I was like, oh, मैं करके दिखाऊंगा, I would do it all. And that was the time when I was running after most of the wrong things. Last 4-5 years, Kirti, because of that notion, I have lost a lot of people from my life. I've gone through some really big hardships and all of those things, which have taught me a lot. So I find peace nowadays in not doing it all. So अगर मेरी list पर 50 चीजें, I'm not kidding, even if I have done 20 of it, I make my peace with it. Just the second thing I would want to say is, which I am trying to do every day, not feel FOMO. Right? We have so many people, especially the Gen Z generation, who is taking so much FOMO, and they're like, oh, how will I do it? This is happening. This is just being, like I'm just loving that. So even if tomorrow, when investors reject, when certain things don't go right or whatever, I'm like, let it be. I would say my perception has also, because I told you I read a lot of books, my perception has also changed from this book called 4,000 Weeks by Oliver.
Okay.
So everyone watching it, whoever would like to read that book, it will tell you that we only have very limited weeks in our life, and sometimes you just have to go with the flow. So that's how I'm doing about it. I'm just going with the flow. I make my list, right? That list has everything. I prioritize it, and I just go with the flow. So even if there are certain things that are left which were supposed to be done on a Monday, I have now made my peace that, hey, I'm going to take it to a Tuesday and then do it.
Right, and that's okay. Taking it at your pace is okay.
It's okay. It's right. Absolutely okay.
And your message to all the entrepreneurs listening?
My message to all the entrepreneurs listening, I would first thing say, don't build just for the sake of it. Build because you truly believe in something.
Right.
And when you are building, go with zero expectations. Don't build to say that, oh, I'm going to earn a lot of it. I want to become the next Mark Zuckerberg, or I want to be the next any successful entrepreneurs that we want. You are building because you want to experience the beauty of entrepreneurship. So go with that. And the third thing is that be ready to be the jack of all trades. Be ready to dirty your hands. Try to gain knowledge from everything that you can, and be curious. Always ask a lot of questions. Learning is the game every day when you're an entrepreneur.
I think that definitely helps, and it's completely inspiring to me also, just listening to you, having this conversation with you. Thank you so much, Kanika.
Thank you for having me.
For taking out the time, and it really means a lot. I'm sure everybody listening to us and everybody viewing this episode, there has been so much that Kanika has shared with all the lived experiences that she's been through. And I hope the episode was helpful. You all enjoyed listening to it, and do comment below if you have any further questions. And I will be adding the website link for Mind Peers as well. Make sure that you're going through the same. And thank you so much once again, everyone, for being a part. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.